Let's now move on to the Discovery mission and the news footage concerning the astronauts' journey. One of the first things to note is the repeated metaphor of synthetic food linked to propaganda. Both men eat artificial mush while watching BBC News reports of their own mission, a mission that they'll soon discover isn't what they think it is. Kubrick makes sure to keep the food trays in shot throughout the whole broadcast. So we've found a food theme that repeats throughout the film. The apes eat real meat after their intellectual enlightenment, but the council members and astronauts eat fake food while listening to or discussing political cover stories. Then at the end of the film, Bowman eats real food just before his intellectual rebirth. And another related point is that a hostess views a food menu on a rectangle that is pretty much the same dimensions as the monolith. And Floyd views gravity-free toilet instructions on a black rectangle. Again, the dimensions appear to be a match for the monolith, possibly hinting at the throwaway nature of the surface narrative of the film. There's a definite theme of food relating to truth and lies, and it makes sense. Against the views and wishes of Arthur C. Clarke and the film's corporate and political backers, Kubrick presents the technologically dependent humans of the Discovery ship as living in a world of artificiality. A cold, clinical world lacking in texture and initially accompanied by somber music. Frank Poole doesn't know whether he's coming or going as he runs like a mouse in a technological wheel, and as many reviewers have pointed out, he and Bowman act like robots.
Bill, dear, I'll be glad to get the present for you, but please tell me how much I can spend.
Oh, yes, Frank, about your AGS 19 payments, I think I've straightened it out for you. I talked to the accounting office in Houston yesterday, and they said that you should be receiving your higher rates of pay by next month.
These men only start to talk and act like real people after they've snuck into the pod for a private discussion outside HAL's all-encompassing surveillance. At the aesthetic level, Bowman's release from the technological number-crunching shackles of HAL gives way to lifeline display patterns gone completely wild in the Stargate, followed by visual depictions of organic intelligence that look much more microbiological than cosmological. He's returning to the superior state of organic intelligence. Despite his atheism, Kubrick surprisingly gives a nod to the mysteries of the universe. There's a side to the human personality that somehow senses that wherever the cosmic truth may lie, it doesn't lie in A, B, C, D. It lies somewhere in the mysterious, unknowable aspects of human thought and life experience. Man has always responded to it. Religion, mythology, allegories, it's always been one of the most responsive chords in man. With rationalism, modern man has tried to eliminate it, and successfully dealt some pretty jarring blows to religion. In a sense, what's happening now with films and popular music is a reaction to the stifling limitations of rationalism. Another way of putting this is that science is not reality. It's a subsection of human perception that, while having incredible usefulness in the physical world, falls apart when applied to art, psychology, and behaviour. In these realms, the most effective operators are frequently people who don't think in the quantitative terms of science. Scientists assume that they understand the world, but how can they when they don't understand themselves or even the nature of their own awareness, something they've utterly failed to imitate with computers? Incidentally, a nice little factoid in the Stanley Kubrick Archives book establishes the director's definite interest in message encoding. Stanley described David Kahn's 1967 book The Code Breakers as one of the most important documents ever written. It contains a detailed history of cryptography, which, if you're unfamiliar with the term, is the complex science of encoding and decoding messages. If 2001 is anything to go by, it seems that Kubrick's genius is that he took the core principles of cryptography and applied them with equal sophistication to the subjective and aesthetic level of film. Regarding the fate of the Discovery ship astronauts, there are some suspicious parallels earlier in the story. After Smyslov brings up the issue of a communication failure at Clavius, a woman speaks of a rocket bus that was denied landing permission.
Well, there's another thing, Haywood. 2 days ago, one of our rocket buses was denied permission for emergency landing at Clavius.
Well, that does sound odd.
Yes. I'm afraid there's going to be a bit of a row about it. Denying the men permission to land is a direct violation of the IAS convention.
This sounds very much like what happened on the Discovery. A communication failure, Bowman being denied permission to board, and a bit of a row with Hal. Although Bowman's space pod may not appear to be a rocket bus, this poster design for the film shows the pod with rocket flames beneath, just as this poster shows the rocket bus which Floyd travelled in with rocket flames underneath as well. And here's a very important parallel between the two stories. The antenna, where the failure occurs on the Discovery, has a distinct design of a large dish and two smaller dishes. Its outline is a visual match for the actual Clavius crater formation on the Moon. Can this be right? Is the whole so-called Jupiter mission a retelling of the events described to Dr. Floyd? Here's a detail that very strongly supports the notion. Floyd asks if the crew who were denied a Clavius landing are okay.
Will the crew get back all right?
Yes, fortunately they did.
Oh, I'm glad about that.
At face value, that's a total mismatch with the 5 deaths on the Discovery ship. But when we're first shown the hibernation pods on the Discovery, Kubrick opts for a close-up shot of the control panel, which includes a set of emergency revival procedures, the details of which outline 10 revival steps to be carried out over several hours. So doesn't it make sense that after disconnecting Hal, Bowman would rush to save the hibernating scientists using these procedures? And if it takes several hours to revive them, then surely it would take several hours for them to die after Hal terminated their life support systems. So it's very plausible that in the hidden narrative, they survive. But there is one other crew member not accounted for, Frank Poole. His body was lost in the void, but there are suggestions that he may also have survived in the hidden narrative. Arthur C. Clarke recorded in his memoirs, fighting to stop Stanley bringing Dr. Poole back from the dead. I'm afraid his obsession with immortality has overcome his artistic instincts. And in the novel, Poole's dead body floating in space is described as appearing to wave back to Bowman. That would almost certainly have been included at Stanley's request. This poster design is interesting too. The suit is stood facing us, but Poole isn't in it. He's up here, jogging, which suggests that somehow he has left the spacesuit and will be making his way back into it shortly. I'm not going to say exactly what I think is going on here, but I will offer some extra clues. We don't actually see the pod attack Poole. We don't see his dead face inside the suit when Bowman recovers it. And there's a strange shot of the pod and Poole's suit flying away from each other at the very moment he dies. The criss-cross trajectory makes no sense because we've already seen Poole flying off into the distance in 2 previous shots. How can he and the pod be passing each other at these angles? A possible clue that the mismatching trajectory was deliberate was given during Bowman's trip to the antenna. 2 meteors are seen passing the Discovery at a distance, but they're on a definite parallel course. And one last clue is that Poole, like Floyd's daughter and Bowman the Star Child, has a birthday.
Happy
birthday, dear Frank. Happy birthday to you.
In this video we've explored aspects of 2001 that cast serious doubt on the, as Stanley called it, simplest level plot description. The topic of discussion at the council meeting, the authenticity of the supposed flight to Clavius, the chronology of the film's major plot segments, and even who lives and dies at the end, are, upon close examination, thrown wide open for reinterpretation. And there are several other major aspects of the story that I've not gone into, but which are equally mismatched by the film's subtler details. Kubrick, with his personal interest in cryptography, intentionally created an artificial alien intelligence narrative which is largely based upon simplistic face-value assumptions. I haven't attempted in this video to explain what lies beneath that surface narrative, but no doubt many of you will already be forming new interpretations of your own. The easiest piece of the puzzle to crack is the monolith itself. I've embedded dozens of non-verbal hints in this video as to what the monolith is, but if you're still tilting your head in confusion, then try watching my 3-part video, The Meaning of the Monolith Revealed, which you can find on my channel, Or, if you want to delve headfirst into 2001's astounding non-verbal complexity, you'll find a text-based study of the film on my website at collativelearning.com, as well as in-depth studies of other double-narrative Kubrick films such as A Clockwork Orange, Full Metal Jacket and The Shining. Thanks for watching.